I've indicated many times yesterday, I did, that the directives were an accumulation of issues that we had been discussing and things that had been things that I'd been getting to know in the department. In other words, when I was appointed, I didn't just settle on the 31st. There were many discussions. There were many things that I read and that I got to know in the process before. So they were, and throughout the period, I've been discussing with all the people that are involved, but not with the intention that one day I would write a letter of directives. So it's absolutely not correct to say I had not discussed with this. And on the three generals that you're talking about, now, your assistant keeps on engaging you when I speak. When you speak, she doesn't engage you. I don't engage with anyone.
No, sorry. Yeah. My apologies, Minister. You're right. You should be.
Okay. So the impression I'm getting is that my response is not important, but what you say to me is important. And I have a problem with that. So I'm saying, I did say yesterday, I did not have any particular meeting with General Khumalo, no, General Masimula, General Mkhwanazi, and General Khumalo. And in a day focusing on the National Political Killings Task Team. There's no such. But discussions include that fall within all the terms of reference. And discussions about this did take place in the meetings that we had. One of them is on the 1st of November. One of them is on, I think, the 22nd of November, the minutes of which I didn't get. I'm still seeking. So it's not like I never had any discussion with anyone on the matters. These are challenges that are within SAPS. These are challenges that we've been discussing. These are challenges that everybody in the top management of SAPS is aware of and have been discussed, but not with a view to writing directives. Those are mine, and those I sat down to think about, and I came up with them, as I say.
Minister, I was asking you about your response, which I must accept and assume your lawyers were instructed by you. And in your response to us on the 1st of October,
yes,
there is no mention, despite the fact that you held a meeting with your deputy ministers to discuss the allegations and other issues in the South African police.
Yes.
Despite the fact that there was a decision taken, according to this note, at that meeting, yes, that the minister would engage the National Commissioner on the concerns regarding the allegations. Despite the fact that your lawyers write on the 22nd of November that there was a meeting,
yes,
between the ministry, the National Commission, and all the senior police, you never discussed the task team. This is is this note wrong? Is there a mistake? Because it doesn't accord with what you told us yesterday and what you are insisting on today, that you discuss this matter at least with the National Commissioner. You seem to today even not to be saying you discussed it ever with Mkhwanazi or Khumalo.
If the letter does not necessarily pick up the meeting of the 1st of November and the meeting of the 22nd, It doesn't mean that it didn't exist. It doesn't mean that it never happened. And it doesn't mean that we never discussed it. It just means that there was an omission in the letter.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm not referencing the letter at all. I'm referencing a response that was given to us as evidence leaders by your lawyers on the 1st of October. And there's nothing in this response which says that you consulted or had a meeting one-on-one with the National Commissioner about the allegations concerning the task team. This is what this says. The other thing also, I might as well, while I raise this, that the note also doesn't say is that, and by the way, this team operated illegally since 2022 because you know what, in terms of a 2019 work study, you know, this is just a temporary task team and I had full authority under the Constitution and the Police Act to disband it. That's also not what this is. That is what I'm asking you about. So I'm asking you, is that an oversight? Is that not what your instructions were? Can you tell us why is there a discrepancy between your evidence of yesterday and today and this note which comes from your lawyers?
Well, I don't have sight of your letter in terms of what you wanted from us by the 31st. But even if I have, if there was an omission, I'm ready to admit that there would have been an omission. But today, I have a submission. That I've made to the ad hoc committee, and I've included everything that is at my disposal, understanding fully that I'm in front of the ad hoc commission, and we've done work with the lawyers. We've already pointed at some of the discrepancies anyway in the letters and all of that during some earlier submissions. And I have no problem with that. It would mean that it would have been a discrepancy. But we're in the ad hoc committee, and I've tried my best to remember everything. That includes, by the way, even matters that you didn't ask us to bring to your attention at the time that you demanded or you requested information, which I will make available in the course of this engagement with the ad hoc committee, even though you didn't ask for those. And I'm sure you'll understand and bear with us if there is any discrepancy.
Well, quite frankly, that doesn't matter whether we ask for it or not. When you have an opportunity, I'll read our letter to your lawyers now, but the response is a detailed response from your lawyers.
Today
it's a detailed response, and you have it in front of you. It's on page 6 of Exhibit Bundle 4. And and especially that I also happen to know and have huge regard for your lawyers who are advising in this matter, that they wouldn't mention. They don't mention anything about having a consultation with the National Commissioner. This is what we asked. Request for information. It is dated, what's the date? Yeah. It's dated, request for information, the date, time, and people who attended the briefing or briefings to the Minister on the political killings task team. We mentioned time of the meeting. There was one it's 21 November, we met with the deputy ministers. The affidavit, the affidavit submitted by the minister to the ethics committee, which we will have a look at in respect to the 5th March committee hearing. The The evidence leaders first requested this information on 12 September 2025. Request for written responses. What, in the minister's understanding, is the constitutional role of the Minister of Police as against the National Commission, which has been explained. A chronology and summary of the complaints received in respect of the PKTT and, where possible, documentary evidence of such complaint. You've got the Haas, you've got Mashale, you've got Adams, all those things. Were these complaints directed to the relevant persons, and were they given an opportunity to respond or address the complaints? If so, who are the persons to whom the complaints were directed? They talk about Nkabindi's letter to IDEC and the referral of the complaint. Did General Nkonazi make an attempt to contact you after the directive that you issued on 31 December 2024? So those are the questions that we asked, and these are the responses. And what is missing from this response is any meeting or engagement with either the National Commissioner or Nkonazi or Khumalo about the political killings task team and your concerns about it, which has by now already been informed by Dahas, Mashale. You had a meeting with your deputies on the 21st of November. You talk about a decision, not even a suggestion. A decision was taken by you and your deputy ministers that you would engage the National Commission. And you didn't. Or are you saying you did, but it's now missing from this response from your lawyers?
Now, I want to repeat in my response that if I didn't include, or we didn't include in our response to you, any issue, for instance, about the decision that we took or the resolution that we took, it does not mean that we did not resolve, as I say in this submission to the ad hoc committee. We did resolve in the manner that I'm saying in my affidavit today. If it was omitted there, it means there was an oversight. That's number one. Number two, if we didn't include the meeting of the 21st and the 22nd, it would mean that it was an omission, or it would mean that we were still trying to get information on that, but we always knew that that discussion did take place, but we just had to submit evidence to you to say we did have a discussion, even if it was not a day, even if it was not with the three generals, but we did have a meeting or meetings that we discussed, and we've shown evidence, we've given you evidence of the meeting of the 21st. And we say there was another meeting. We may not necessarily have access to that in terms of documents, but it did take place, and it is true that it did take place. Now, we may not have indicated everything in our response at the time, but we acknowledge that we have tried by all means to make an effort to bring everything we are aware of to my statement, not just to that response at that time, to the statement to the ad hoc committee, which we have tried to make as inclusive as possible of everything to the best of our ability. And I think that that would be my statement, that there may be an omission of one kind or the other, but it doesn't mean that what we are bringing today should be disregarded in any way.
Okay. So this is not quite a court case, so I'm not going to engage you any further. I've put to you from our side what our understanding is from the evidence that's been led so far. You've given your version. I'm just going to leave it there, okay? Now, on the, again, your engagement on the first, this was what is called a follow-up meeting, and I'm referring, sorry, Honourable Chair, honourable members, Exhibit Bundle 4, the Minister's follow-up meeting on HRM matters on the 1st of November, including the organizational structure. And the reference is at page 164 and following. And at that meeting, so again, firstly, this is not a focused meeting on the political killings task team, we accept that. This is perhaps a meeting where does the PKTT fit into the organizational structure? It is not about what have you been doing since your establishment? Has it been a success or not? Is it time to terminate it or not? This is just where it falls in. And this is then what you are recorded as saying, and it's on page 3 of 15. At the bottom, the minister indicated that there must be reconsideration and review of certain capabilities, such as the political killings task team, which are primarily about addressing serious crimes. He stated that SAPS should guard against creating structures or units based on specific category, which, whilst these duplicate existing capabilities. Ministers directed that the presentation should have a narrative to the relationship between provincial commissioners and deputy national commissioners, and must explain their roles and their constitutional, legislative, imperative or composition. Then at the bottom of that page, General Masemola indicated that the matter of provincial commissioners was resolved some time ago, and that there's a dotted line to the deputy national commissioners. And then later on he says, he gave an example, he further explained, the very last sentence on page 3, he further explained that a political killing capability that is in place in the form of a task team and not a fixed unit or establishment. So that minister appears to be the sum total of what was mentioned at the meeting and what was discussed. And then further to that, yesterday, you took us through this document on page 178, which is the organizational structure, which is this document that you took us through yesterday, that was also on the board. And it appears from this document that the political task team is not, it doesn't feature. It features under another category, murder and robbery and so on. So I think we need to round off on this point now. About you, we say, not engaging, let alone consulting the National Commissioner and or Lieutenant General Kumalo, Lieutenant General Konazi on the political killings task team. Not at all. Or no. Are you just maintaining that you did?
No, do you want me to respond now?
Yes, just so that we can round off this topic.
I want to contest that, and I've contested that. I am saying there is evidence of discussions and decisions as from 2019 on the political killings task team. That was a long time before I came. It took the form of a new organogram with specialized units in subs, which were meant to focus on specific issues regarding crime, fighting crime in South Africa that was in the offing at that time in the country, and a structure which was a change in terms of subs, was designed and it was put there following a study. It took some time before that study was completed or even that structure could then be implemented. But at some point, and in the process, there were then extensions on the work of the political killings task team. And it took that form. But there was already a view, a very strong view, that the political task team, National Political Killings Task Team, is a temporal structure. It's not a permanent feature in the Constitution, in the organogram. Even at that time, as early as that time, 2019, a year after the Political Killings Task Team was there, and long before I came. And then the structure was there. And then last year, we'd start discussing the organogram. And we pull up everything, all the things that I'm talking about. And we come up with the organizational structure. And this organizational structure bears features of what had been discussed in the work study from 2019 to a great extent. I even said, take note of the fact that the new structure that has been signed, which we started last year, has ORS. Take note of that. Separated now from VISPOL, and that's a new development. But they did say it was at one point there, but they did away with it. And I said, take note of the fact that we have removed the police inspectorate in the new organogram. And take note that there is political killings task team as a sub-unit in the new organogram, just like it had been recognized during the work study that you must have units now in a coordinated way. The signed organizational structure, if you have it now in the form that it is, but you keep the current structure, or you keep the team, the National Political Killings Task Team, you will irresponsibly overstretch your budget unnecessarily. That's one. You will duplicate functions within the organogram. 3, you will have people who will not be used or will not be utilized. Now, these are people called people within the serious and violent crimes unit, which has been created. And it will have an impression, it will also overlap to organized crime unit, which is there, but you still keep one other temporal structure outside the organogram, which is approved and which is budgeted for. And my argument is that it will not be responsible. It will not be rational to do so, because the structure already provides for that. And worse, it provides for that, including in the Eastern Cape, including in the Western Cape, including in Gauteng, not just KZN, the 4 provinces that are heavily affected by crime. So you won't have to take 10 people from KZN to go and assist in Gauteng. You will not have to have Fort Hare like incidents, and then you go and say, I'm borrowing people from KZN. Why would you do that? You will have a sustained and sustainable organizational structure operated by us at a national level. And to me, that makes sense. and it will work better. And the current budget that we are using for a separate, standalone national political killings task team will be infused and will be utilized and evenly distributed throughout the country. To me, it makes absolute sense to do so.
Okay.
And it is responsible to do so. Okay. And it will cater for our needs all over. And especially if you put in the new division that we're talking about to assist SAPS uniform and to assist even the units that will be functioning in those 4 provinces. But the structure provides for functionality and existence of those units in all other provinces. And I'm saying to you, Central, we do not exist as South African police to just investigate incidents of killings for councillors. We don't. There is no such a mandate. SAPS has to serve everybody. Even if you've got to make sure that the resources of the country are used to the best of your ability to protect the people of South Africa, not a particular group of people. Not. It is not like that. And we've got to tackle this particular issue, that there are no better lives than the others who are equal in South Africa. So you can't have a task team solely dedicated to a particular grouping of people somewhere and not, if you have to have a taxi violence unit, it must be everywhere where there is tax violence. And this structure is designed to have just that. You're not going to have a structure for taxi people in Mpumalanga alone. And you say, whenever there's taxi violence in Western Cape and also, you will borrow people from there. And I'm saying I'm answering to the imperatives of the 7th administration. And that is what it says. And they're different from other imperatives in any other term. So I am here to share information and to the best of my ability, what I've come to understand in terms of my responsibilities, not just to justify what I found there, but to change and make things better. I'm not here to justify that which is there, I'm not able to tamper with, even though I have power to do so for the betterment of the people of South Africa. I can't agree to that.
But do you accept, Minister, that even if or where you have the power, this huge responsible power,
yes,
to change things for the better of our country and for our citizens,
yes,
that you also have to consult with people before you exercise that power, the people who are directly affected when you exercise that power. For example, to shut down a political killings task team that our president thought in May 2018, not thought, he came here. He said the political killings, not because he was discriminating or treating killings in KZN different from killings elsewhere in the country. He said this has become a problem. And I need a dedicated approach to resolve this problem. It does so. No. Can I now speak? So this problem is addressed by the formation of a political task team. He appoints an interministerial committee. Now, we're not going to debate the legality, constitutionality of whether you could disband it or not. But there is the committee. Colleagues with you in your cabinet. Did you not think it was important to engage with them? There is absolutely no indication from your lawyer's notes, from your statement, from your oral evidence here yesterday and today, that you engage with them to say, colleagues, this is now weighing heavily on my mind. It's already heading towards the end of the year. I feel like writing a letter on the 31st of December. Can we discuss this? You discuss it with your deputy ministers, but you don't discuss it with your other ministers. key players, Minister of Intelligence, Minister of Defense, Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. These are the ministers that form this group. So even if it's a political structure, and even if the task team, according to you, were acting under its direction and it was a political issue, even more reason why you should have consulted with them and engaged with them. Why didn't you?
Now, I just a question first. Are you suggesting that we must ignore the meeting of the 1st and the meeting of the 22nd and remove it from my evidence, that it doesn't exist, even though I say it does exist?
I'm not going to remove anything.
Okay.
Whatever you have said here yesterday, whatever is on paper is part of our record, and it will be taken into account when an evaluation is made by me, by other honorable members of this committee. They, of course, have minds of their own. They're going to evaluate the evidence. I'm asking you a specific question, and I've directed you to the fact that there was this committee, this interministerial committee, and there's no indication from you on your evidence, not discarding anything else, that you had not engaged with your colleagues.
I am happy, Senior Council, that you recognize the meeting of the 1st of November. I am happy, Senior Council, that you recognize the meeting of the 22nd where these matters were raised. But in answer to you, there was no dedicated day. There was no dedicated meeting to discuss the National Political Killings Task Team before I wrote the letter of directives. But I am putting it that the directive does indicate the need for a meeting on the 20th of January, that is after, to discuss in the form of a report. I am saying there was also an indication for the need to discuss in the UNESCO later in January. So those matters were recognized, and I'm saying this is a political task team in SAPS, and don't equate it to policing, overall policing in South Africa, to make me feel guilty that I didn't consult on the team specifically in a dedicated manner in a day. Don't make me feel guilty, because I'm not guilty for that. There are many other things that I needed to do and that I would do that would involve everybody and so on. So, and there are many things that I discussed which are fundamental, which involved everybody. So don't create an impression that I don't consult, even though I show evidence that Minister, I do consult.
Sorry to interrupt.
And we did have meetings.
I didn't create any impression.
I'm happy with that.
A question. I put something to you, and then I asked you a question. I put to you that there's no indication from you, either in writing or in your oral evidence, that you ever consulted, and you haven't, still in your response now, you haven't mentioned the interministerial committee. So that is what I put to you, and that's the question I'm asking you, and you're not answering the question whether or not you consulted with your colleagues in cabinet, especially since you're a relatively new minister in that portfolio. You've got other ministers in the cabinet that form part of that committee who have been in their positions for quite a while, who could assist you, they could make an input, they could guide you. You haven't answered that question.
Yes, let me answer. There is no IMC in the 7th administration, like which featured in the 6th administration as a structure that was presiding over the steering committee and any other structure below on the political task team. It doesn't exist in the 7th administration. That is a fact. Secondly, you don't run a department like that. You don't say, just because you have your colleagues, you are going to convene a meeting to discuss any aspect of your department. You discuss in cabinet, you discuss in cabinet committees, you discuss in any other committee or whatever structure that exists. That's how government functions. Now, you can't just convene. You're not president. You can't just convene and say, you are older than me in cabinet. I want you to come and discuss with me some matter. Doesn't work like that. Now, that's number one. Number two, I have indicated that I didn't breach any law. I do want us to have an agreement or a consensus that I didn't convene a meeting with General Masimula, General Mkhwanazi, and General Kumal. Doesn't constitute an offense in the department or anywhere or in the state. It doesn't. That's why I talk about don't impose a feeling of guilt just because I didn't have a meeting with them. It doesn't work like that. If the discussions took a different form, it then means that it took a different form. If it was not adequate in the sense that it did not go for a full day or so, then so be it. But it shouldn't be registered in this ad hoc committee that I never made any statement for the need of review for the kind of situation that exists now, even though it is written in black and white that we did make policy statements in these meetings, and I'm putting that very strongly that these matters were raised in meetings. If they were not adequate, it means that time for adequate forecast discussions on the matter would have come. Remember when I wrote this letter, I was 5 months into a 5-year term. But it wasn't necessary. And I'm still saying, I stand by my letter, and it was legitimate and it was proper that I raised this matter, because by then I had felt that we may even be breaching PFMA. And I needed to be able to be ready to say, when the year comes, I must be able to say, when I realized that there is that possibility, I didn't just keep quiet, even though we may be breaching the law. And that is important to me. That's important to me. So I consulted not on the disbandment, but on the need to review in whatever, but there were matters, as I say, that precipitated the writing of the letter of the 21st. But I did say, even though I decided on the 31st to do it, there were matters that couldn't allow me to consult on the basis of the risk that I explained yesterday. Because if I said this is one of the factors that are making me reach this decision, I couldn't discuss that at that time with them. I needed a particular platform, and this platform is one of those, and the platform in the commission is one of those appropriately created platforms where we can then discuss these matters which concern other people who are affected by matters in the political killings task team. And I'm happy with the two platforms, that they offer us a full spectrum. So I'm saying, don't reach any conclusion on the matter because you haven't heard it all until everything that has been concluded is there. But I am saying very strongly, even if there was no full day, even if there was no meeting with the three generals that you are talking about, there were policy statements that were made in those two meetings, and they conveyed very clearly what my intentions as minister was, clearly, beyond any doubt, that I wanted a review, and it is based on work that was started in 2019, very clear. And I have shown that you couldn't have a double, you couldn't have a structure that you intend implementing, which caters for the work of the political killing task team, but still have the political killing task team. You can't say so. You can't have that. It would be irrational. In fact, if I would have been called to account, I wouldn't be able to account. Why do you keep this team when you have a structure that you are supposed to be implementing, which you could have implemented long ago? You don't implement it, but you just keep. And why do you keep a team that deals with matters of a limited category of people in South Africa?
Minister,
when the majority of people are being killed there, you don't have the same specialization. You can't do that.
With due respect, you've made the point.